Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by, and welcome to fourth quarter and fiscal year 2022 Hello Group Inc. earnings conference call. All participants are in a listen-only mode. There will be a presentation followed by a question-and-answer session. If you wish to ask a question, you will need to press the star key followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Please note this conference is being recorded. I would now like to hand the conference over to your first speaker today, Ms. Ashley Ying. Thank you. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, operator. Good morning and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Hello Group's fourth quarter and fiscal 2022 earnings conference call. The company's results were released earlier today and are available on the company's IR website. On the call today are Mr. Tang Yan, CEO of the company, and Ms. Peng Hui, CFO of the company. They will discuss the company's business operations and highlights, as well as the financials and guidance. They will both be available to answer your questions during the Q&A session that follows. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that this call may contain forward-looking statements made under the Safe Harbor provision of the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Such statements are based on management's current expectations and current market and operating conditions, and relate to events that involve known or unknown risks, uncertainties, and other factors, all of which are difficult to predict and many of which are beyond the company's control, which may cause the company's actual results, performance, or achievements to differ materially from those in the forward-looking statements. Further information regarding this and other risks, uncertainties, and factors is included in the company's filings with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The company does not undertake any obligation to update any forward-looking statements as a result of new information, further events, or otherwise, except as required under law. I will now pass the call over to our CEO, Mr. Tang Yan. Mr. Tang, please.
大家好，感谢参加今天的电话会。2022年对于很多中国公司来说都是一场挑战的一年。疫情的反复给整体商业环境带来了很多不确定性，但让我们感到高兴的是，我们的团队能够顶住外部压力，下半年及时调整战略重点和相应的执行计划，采取灵活的产品和运营举措，在挑战中依然为股东创造了扎实的财务成果，让我们为2022年画上了一个令人满意的句号。下面我将为大家回顾四季度以及2022财年主要的运营和业务成果，之后再介绍一下2023年的战略目标。
Hello everyone, thank you for joining our call. 2022 was an extremely challenging year for many Chinese companies, as the COVID resurgence brought a lot of uncertainties to the overall business environment. However, I'm pleased to see that our team withstood external pressures by timely adjusting strategic priorities and corresponding execution plans in the second half of the year with flexible product and operational measures. Despite the challenges, we delivered solid financial results for shareholders, enabling us to conclude the year on a satisfactory note. I will first review the main operating and business results in the fourth quarter and fiscal year 2022, and then I will outline our strategic priorities for fiscal 2023.
首先简单介绍一下财务表现。2022年四季度总营收 32.1 亿元，同比下降 13%， 环比下降 1%， 调整后营业利润 4.99 亿元，对应营业利润率 16%。 不考虑探探、陌陌主站及独立新 apps， 共计营收 28.7 亿人民币，同比下降 11%， 环比下降 1%。调整后营业利润 5.14 亿人民币，同比下降 21%， 环比下降 20%， 对应营业利润率 18%。 探探营收 3.47 亿人民币，同比下降 21%， 环比增长 2%。 调整后运营亏损 1517万人民币，比上年同期的 1.4 亿人民币相比，收窄大幅的缩窄。环比看，即使在年末季节性费用增加的情况下，运营亏损较三季度进一步收窄。我对下半年探探在降本增效方面取得的成果感到满意。
I will start with a brief overview of our financial performance. For the fourth quarter of 2022, total group revenue was 3.21 billion RMB, down 13% year-over-year and 1% quarter-over-quarter. Adjusted operating income was 499 million RMB, with a margin of 16%. Total revenue from Momo app and standalone new apps was 2.87 billion RMB, down 11% year-over-year and 1% quarter-over-quarter. And adjusted operating income was 514 million RMB, down 21% year-over-year and 20% quarter-over-quarter, with a margin of 18%. Total revenue from Tantan came in at 347 million RMB, down 21% year-over-year, but up 2% quarter-over-quarter. Adjusted operating loss was significantly narrowed to 15.17 million RMB from 114 million RMB in the same quarter of last year. On a sequential basis, adjusted operating loss continued to narrow further despite an increase in the year-end seasonal expenses. I'm pleased with the progress that Tantan made in improving cost efficiency in the second half of the year.
2022财年，集团总营收127亿人民币，上年为146亿人民币，调整后营业利润 20.3 亿人民币，上年为 25.9 亿人民币，调整后营业利润率 16%。营收及利润下降的主要原因在于疫情相关的因素以及监管等因素对陌陌主站和探探造成明显压力。为此，我们年终调整了部分战略重点，强调降本增效策略，尽量缓解外因对收入的冲击传导至利润层面。不包含探探，2022年陌陌主站及独立新 apps 年度营收113亿人民币，同比下降 10%， 全部来自陌陌主站收入下滑。新 apps 在2021年高基数的基础上保持快速增长趋势。调整后营业利润 23.6 亿人民币，对应营业利润率 21%， 上年为 29.2 亿人民币，对应利润率 23%。探探年度营收 13.7 亿人民币，同比下降 33%， 调整后营业亏损 3.3 亿人民币，上年为 3.37 亿人民币。虽然收入受疫情及减投影响同比下滑，但受益于7月开始实行的控本增效策略，亏损规模较上年有所收窄，特别是下半年亏损幅度大幅缩窄，为探探2023年实现盈亏平衡奠定了坚实的基础。
For fiscal 2022, total group revenue was 12.7 billion RMB, compared with 14.6 billion RMB in 2021. Adjusted operating income was 2.03 billion RMB, with a margin of 16%, compared with 2.59 billion RMB in 2021. The decrease in total revenue and adjusted operating income was mainly due to the significant pressure on both Momo and Tantan caused by COVID-related factors and regulatory factors. We adjusted some of our strategic priorities mid-year, focusing on cost reduction and efficiency improvement to mitigate the negative impact of external factors on our bottom lines. Total revenue from the Momo app and standalone app for fiscal year 2022 was 11.3 billion RMB, down 10% from last year. The decrease was due to the decline in Momo revenue, while the standalone apps maintained rapid growth momentum from a high base in 2021. Adjusted operating income was 2.36 billion RMB in 2022, with a margin of 21%, compared with 2.92 billion RMB in 2021, with a margin of 23%. Tantan's total revenue was 1.37 billion RMB, down 33% from 2021. Adjusted operating loss was 330 million RMB, compared with 337 million RMB in 2021. Although revenue declined from last year due to the impact of the pandemic and the reduction in channel investments, Tantan's adjusted operating loss narrowed as a result of our initiatives to reduce costs and improve efficiency starting in July. Bottom line performance improved significantly in the latter half of the year, laying a solid foundation for Tantan to achieve break-even in fiscal 2023.
接下来回顾下团队2022年在各项战略重点方面取得的成果。年初，我们对陌陌主站、探探和独立新 apps 这3块处于不同发展阶段的业务，分别设立了相应的战略目标。陌陌主 app 作为集团产品矩阵中用户规模最大、商业化体验最成熟的产品。我们对陌陌最主要的要求是以有限的营销预算，力图实现用户规模稳中求进，同时确保现金流业务稳定产出。尽管年内疫情和监管充满诸多不确定性，导致我们在用户和营收上与目标产生了较大差距，但团队为应对外部挑战采取的降本增效策略，及时的控制了利润下降的幅度， 为今年外部环境好转后现金流业务重新增长打下了基础。探探年初的目标是通过提高市场营销效率和核心约会体验推动用户规模稳定增长，但由于年初以来疫情管控持续加码，严重影响了用户约会需求及付费意愿，使得获客的 ROI 大幅降低。因此下半年我们将探探的战略目标调整为减投控本，持续收窄亏损，跑通适合亚洲市场约会文化的产品和商业模式，在盈亏平衡的基础上追求增长。过去2个季度，探探的财务表现很好地验证了战略调整的重要性以及团队高效的执行能力。关于新业务，我们的目标是持续丰富产品矩阵，拓宽陌陌和探探之外的业务边界，这方面我们今年取得了不错的成果。接下来我为大家介绍具体情况。
Now, I'll discuss the execution of our strategic priorities in 2022. At the beginning of the year, we set separate goals for Momo, Tantan, and our new standalone apps, given the different business cycles. For the Momo app, the product with the largest user base and most mature commercial experience in our brand portfolio, its main goal was to maintain a stable user base with a limited marketing budget and seek growth opportunities on top of that, while ensuring the cash cow business remains stable. Although many uncertainties surrounding the COVID and regulatory environment last year resulted in a relatively large gap between that goal and actual results, I'm pleased to see that, in response to the external challenges, our team timely mitigated the decline in profit by reducing cost and improving efficiency. This has laid a solid foundation for our cash cow business to turn to a growth trajectory once the external environment improves this year. Tantan's goal was to deliver solid user growth by improving marketing efficiency and the core dating experience. However, the COVID situation continued to deteriorate from the beginning of the year and largely affected users' dating sentiment and their propensity to pay for value-added services, resulting in a significant decline in channel ROI. Therefore, we decided to adjust the Tantan's strategic goals in the second half of the year to focus on narrowing net loss by reducing low-efficiency channel marketing spend and accelerating our efforts to develop product and monetization models that are suitable for the Asian dating culture in order to pursue profitable growth. Tantan's financial performance in the past 2 quarters has clearly demonstrated the importance of our strategic adjustments and our team's strong execution ability. With respect to the new products and businesses, our goal was to continue to enrich our product portfolio and push the boundaries beyond Momo and Tantan. We made steady progress on this front in 2022. Next, I'll walk you through the details.
首先是陌陌主站用户及核心运营数据。2022年平台流量及活跃度与上年相比面临了更加严峻的挑战，主要压力来自年初以来日趋收紧的疫情防控政策，以及12月疫情政策开放后全国多处地区发生了大面积感染。4季度陌陌的 MAU 9460万人，环比下降 13%。疫情的快速扩散导致自然量及留存明显回落。出于 ROI 考虑，获客团队及时缩减了投放的规模，以降低疫情高峰期不必要的用户增长成本。MAU 下滑导致4季度的付费用户数量环比减少60万至780万人。2022年，渠道团队以提升投放效率为目标，持续优化渠道策略，并将获客重点由活跃用户向付费用户转移。渠道效率的提升在困难的外部环境中减轻了财务压力，对现金流业务的稳定产出产生了积极的作用。伴随用户的社交意愿春节后逐渐回暖， MAU 呈现了持续的上涨趋势，目前已恢复到去年3季度的水平。用户使用时长也超过了2022年的峰值。
Firstly, regarding Momo app user growth and key operating metrics, in 2022, user traffic and engagement level faced more severe challenges in comparison with the previous year. The main pressure came from the increasingly tightened COVID containment measures throughout the year, as well as the COVID infection surge in many regions in China after the removal of the zero COVID policy in December. In the fourth quarter, Momo had 94.6 million monthly actives, down 13% sequentially. The rapid spread of COVID led to a significant decline in organic traffic and retention. For ROI considerations, our team scaled back investments in channels timely to reduce unnecessary spending during the peak of the pandemic. The decline in MAU caused the number of paying users to decrease by 600,000 to 7.8 million in the fourth quarter. In 2022, to improve marketing efficiency, our team continued to optimize channel strategy and shifted our user acquisition focus from MAUs to paying users. The improvement in channel marketing efficiency mitigated our financial pressure in the challenging environment and had a positive impact on ensuring the stability of our cash cow business. With user social sentiment gradually recovering after the Chinese New Year, MAUs started to continuously trend upward and have bounced back to the same level as Q3 last year. Meanwhile, users' time spent surpassed its peak level in 2022.
接下来介绍一下确保现金流业务稳定产出这一战略重点的执行情况。2022年多重因素叠加，给以直播为主的陌陌营收带来了严峻的挑战。新 apps 对 VAS 贡献的增量流水部分，缓解了外部因素给陌陌主站营收造成的压力。全年 VAS 对直播收入比例较上年提升了22个百分点至 87%。团队在利用 VAS 场景更好地释放长尾消费能力的同时，也打造了更加均衡的收入结构。
Now, I'll discuss progress we made regarding the priorities of ensuring our cash cow business remains stable. In 2022, multiple external factors brought severe challenges to Momo app top line, particularly the live streaming business. The incremental revenue contributed by the new standalone apps to Momo segment VAS line partially alleviated the pressure from Momo app. For fiscal 2022, the revenue ratio of VAS and live streaming increased by 22 percentage points from the previous year to 87%. Our team leveraged VAS use cases to unleash the spending potential of long-tail users, which created a more balanced revenue structure.
四季度陌陌主 app 直播业务营收 15.6 亿人民币，同比下降 20%， 环比增长 3%。2022年直播总营收 59.7 亿人民币，同比下降 20%。22年直播营收下行压力主要来自两个方面，第一是疫情导致的宏观经济疲软及消费情绪低迷，二是二季度我们配合监管要求进行的产品调整。下半年直播团队针对消费能力较强的用户群体持续推出新玩法，提升高消费群体的使用体验，头部用户的增长推动直播收入下半年持续提升。虽然12月疫情政策开放后大量主播感染对供给侧及流水短期造成了非常严重的冲击，但11月年度盛典带来的增量流水对四季度直播收入增长起到了非常重要的支撑作用。
Momo's live streaming revenue was 1.56 billion RMB for the fourth quarter, down 20% year-over-year, but up 3% sequentially. For fiscal 2022, revenue from live streaming totaled 5.97 billion RMB, down 20% year-over-year. In 2022, the pressure on live streaming revenue mainly came from two factors. Number one, the macro headwinds and spending softness as a result of the pandemic. And number two, product adjustments we made in Q2 to meet regulatory requirements. In the second half of the year, our live streaming team introduced new features targeting high-paying users to improve their product experience, and the expansion in the number of top cohort users drove continuous growth in live streaming revenue. In December, a large number of broadcasters suspended work due to high infection rate after the reopening, causing severe short-term disruptions to the supply side and revenue growth. However, the incremental revenue from the year-end competition in November provided strong support for the live streaming revenue to grow sequentially in Q4.
2022年直播团队将运营重点逐渐由单纯的流水增长转向有利润的增长，通过调整运营策略及玩法设计等方式控制成本。盛典的赛制及奖金安排在这一思路的影响下也有所节约。年末赛事活动对毛利率造成的压力比往年相比有所减弱，因此四季度毛利率环比波动小于上年同期水平，整体分成政策及供给侧生态年内始终保持稳定。
In 2022, our live streaming team gradually shifted the operational focus from revenue growth to profitable growth and controlled costs by adjusting the operational policy and design of the gamified features. With this guideline in mind, we introduced some cost-saving designs to the year-end competition event. This partially reduced the pressure of large-scale event on the gross profit margin. The sequential dip in GP margin in Q4 22 was milder than in the same period last year. The overall revenue sharing policy and supply-side ecosystem remained stable throughout the year.
接下来介绍增值业务。四季度不包含探探 ，VAS 营收 12.7 亿人民币，同比增长 2%， 环比下降 5%。同比增长全部来自新业务的增量流水。四季度陌陌主站 VAS 营收 10.4 亿人民币，同环比均下降 9%。独立新 apps 营收 2.2 亿人民币，同比增长 129%， 环比增长 15%。
With regards to VAS, revenue from value-added services excluding Tantan totaled 1.27 billion RMB for the fourth quarter, up 2% year-over-year and down 5% sequentially. The year-over-year growth was entirely attributable to the incremental revenue from the new standalone apps. In the fourth quarter, VAS revenue from the Momo app totaled 1.04 billion RMB, down 9% both year-on-year and quarter-over-quarter. Revenue from the standalone apps was 220 million RMB, up 129% year-over-year and 15% sequentially.
2022财年不包含探探 ，VAS 总营收 51.8 亿人民币，同比增长 7%。其中，陌陌主站 VAS 营收自年初以来受疫情影响持续承压，年度总营收 44.5 亿人民币，同比下降 2%， 显著低于我们年初的预期。为弥补主站流水缺口，团队适度加大了对新 apps 的商业化力度，推动营收同比增长 143% 至 7.37 亿人民币。2022年伴随疫情管控的程度越来越严格，线上到线下社交转换属性较强的场景、流量及收入都承受了明显压力。例如在群组及附近的人打招呼这类场景中，虚拟礼物的消费热情较风控前明显减弱，而以提升找人效率为目的的会员业务收入规模同样出现下滑。相比之下 ，LBS 属性较弱的音视频业务在产品及玩法创新的带动下，能够相对有效的对冲疫情及对流量以及消费意愿造成的冲击，推动年度营收同比稳中有升。
For fiscal year 2022, revenue from value-added services excluding Tantan totaled 5.18 billion RMB, up 7% year-over-year. VAS revenue from the Momo app decreased 2% year-over-year to 4.45 billion RMB due to the continuous pressure from COVID. Momo app VAS revenue was considerably lower than our expectation at the beginning of 2022. In order to offset this revenue decline, our team pushed harder on monetization of new apps, driving revenue from these new apps collectively to increase 143% year-over-year to 737 million RMB. As COVID control measures became increasingly strict in 2022, social use cases with higher conversion of online to offline activities bore significant pressure on both traffic and revenue fronts. For example, users' enthusiasm on virtual gifts consumption in interest group and in greetings from the nearby people list significantly weakened compared with before the strict COVID control measures were implemented. Revenue from membership subscriptions also declined because this service represents paying features designed to increase users' efficiency to make new connections that they can potentially meet offline. In contrast, the audio and video-based social entertainment experiences with less LBS attributes were able to effectively offset the impact of COVID on traffic and users' propensity to pay, and drove steady revenue growth in 2022 by leveraging innovative product and features.
下面聊下探探，首先是用户趋势和整体财务表现。为应对年初以来持续升级的疫情管控对探探造成的业务及财务影响，管理层下半年决定启动减投控本的策略，收缩效率低下的渠道投放，减小探探亏损。12月初，疫情政策开放后， 全国多处地区陆续进入感染高峰，对流量造成很大冲击，叠加渠道投放进一步缩窄，年末 MAU 1840万，环比下降了 12%， 较减投前6月30号下降 26%。 付费用户受 MAU 下滑和疫情爆发导致的转换率降低影响，环比减少30万人至170万。春节后伴随疫情逐渐消散，用户规模进入恢复性的增长轨道，截止到3月初 DAU 已经恢复到去年12月疫情大面积爆发前的水平。
With respect to Tantan, I'll start with user trends and overall financials. In response to the business and financial impacts on Tantan caused by the escalating pandemic control measures since the beginning of the year, the management decided to pursue a cost control strategy in the second half to narrow Tantan's net loss by reducing marketing spend and cutting investments in channels and methods with low ROI. Since the removal of the zero COVID policy in early December, many regions across the country experienced a surge in COVID infections, which put a lot of pressure on user traffic. Compounded by the reduction in channel investments, Tantan's overall MAU decreased 12% quarter-over-quarter to 18.4 million in December, down 26% from June before we initiated cost controls. The number of paying users was 1.7 million, down 300,000 sequentially, mainly due to the decline in both MAU and paying conversion amid the fast-growing COVID infections. As infection gradually eased off after the Chinese New Year, traffic started to resume growth. DAU in early March has recovered to the level before the pandemic outbreak in December last year.
接下来回顾下探探的财务表现。四季度探探总营收 3.47 亿人民币，同比下降 21%， 环比增长 2%。同比下降主要来自于付费用户的下滑，环比增长则来自于直播和高阶的黑金会员放量推动的 ARPU 的增长，抵消了付费用户下滑对收入造成的压力。分业务线看 ，VAS 收入 1.84 亿人民币，环比下降 9%。虽然新会员产品放量对提升 VAS ARPU 起到了一定的正向帮助，但由于会员收入和付费人数相关性非常高，所以 ARPU 增长无法完全抵消付费人数下降的压力。相比之下，直播作为强运营业务，团队可以通过产品及运营手段更有力的推动 ARPU 增长。四季度直播收入 1.63 亿人民币，环比增长了 17%。
Now, I'll briefly review Tantan's financial performance. Total revenue for the fourth quarter was 347 million RMB, down 21% year-over-year, but up 2% sequentially. The year-over-year decrease was mainly due to the decline in the number of paying users. The sequential growth was due to the improvement in ARPU, driven by live streaming and the new premium Black Gold membership service, which offset the pressure on revenue caused by the decline in paying users. VAS revenue was 184 million RMB, down 9% sequentially. Although the sales of new membership service played a positive role in improving VAS ARPU, the increase couldn't fully offset the pressure from paying user decline, because membership revenue is highly correlated with the number of paying users. On the other hand, the live streaming business, which is more sensitive to revenue-oriented operational efforts, our team was able to drive significant ARPU growth through product improvements and new features. As a result, live streaming revenue for the fourth quarter was up 17% sequentially to 163 million RMB.
2022年，探探总营收 13.7 亿人民币，同比下降 33%， 下行压力主要来自于与疫情和减投控本相关的付费用户下滑。分业务线看 ，VAS 总营收 8.24 亿人民币，同比下降 27%， 直播总营收 5.44 亿人民币，同比下降 40%。
For fiscal year 2022, Tantan's total revenue was 1.37 billion RMB, down 33% year-over-year, mainly due to the decrease in paying user count resulting from COVID and our initiative to reduce channel investments. VAS revenue in 2022 was 824 million RMB, down 27% year-over-year, and live streaming revenue was 544 million RMB, down 40% year-over-year.
2022财年探探调整后净亏损 3.06 亿人民币，2021财年亏损为 3.37 亿人民币。虽然2022年探探年度亏损仍然较大，但得益于我们行之有效的减投控本策略，3季度开始探探的净亏损幅度大幅收窄，季度平均亏损由上半年的 1.4 亿元缩展到下半年的1400万元，资源的使用效率得到了大幅的提升。
Tantan's adjusted net loss for fiscal year 2022 was 306 million RMB, compared with 337 million RMB in 2021. Although the net loss in 2022 was still relatively large, adjusted net loss was substantially narrowed in the latter half of the year, thanks to our effective strategy to control costs and optimize channel investments. The average quarterly adjusted net loss significantly improved from 140 million RMB in the first half of the year to 14 million RMB in the second half, and the efficiency of resource investment greatly improved.
下面回顾下探探2022年战略重点的执行情况。年初在疫情形势急剧恶化前，我们对探探的要求是通过提高市场营销效率以及核心约会体验推动用户规模稳定增长。然而进入2季度，疫情防控政策日趋收紧，对用户留存和付费转化造成了非常严重的负面影响。新客留存和付费转化是决定 LTV 及获客回报率的重要指标，这些数据的显著下降导致获客进入了越买越亏的负循环，不能带来利润的增长，是违背商业逻辑的，也是不可持续的。为应对疫情的不确定性，我们下半年决定转变以亏损为代价的增长方式，选择更为稳妥的策略，即减投控本，持续收窄亏损，通过算法、产品创新和新的灰费源付费产品推动留存及 ARPU 增长，待 ROI 打正后再将利润投入到市场推广，以此形成自给自足的正循环。
Now, let's look at the progress Tantan has made against these strategic priorities. The strategic goal we set at the beginning of the year before the pandemic situation deteriorated was to deliver solid user growth by improving marketing efficiency and core dating experience. However, during the second quarter, tightened COVID control measures had a severe negative impact on user retention and paying conversion. New user retention and paying conversion are key indicators that determine LTV and channel ROI. The significant decline in both metrics led to a negative cycle where the more user we acquired, the greater the financial loss. Growing the user base without making a profit not only makes no economic sense, but is also unsustainable. In response to the uncertainties created by the pandemic, in the second half of the year, we adopted a more prudent marketing strategy rather than grow at the expenses of bottom line. We reduced spending in low efficiency channels to narrow net loss. At the same time, we continue to focus on improving user retention and ARPU growth through algorithm, product innovation, and new non-membership VAS features. Once ROI turns positive, we will reinvest the profit into marketing to create a self-sustaining growth cycle.
接下来介绍下我们在渠道提高获客效率以及产品提升留存和 ARPU 这2方面都做了哪些具体工作。首先是渠道，年初以来，获客团队通过优化广告素材，灵活调整新增及召回比例，推动渠道效率持续提升。因此，虽然12月疫情大面积爆发，导致整体用户规模回撤程度大于预期，但客单价、渠道留存和新增 ARPU 这些重要的获客指标，较上年都得到了不同程度的改善。年均客单价同比下降近 20%， 尤其是4季度，该指标同比下降 50%， 而新增 ARPU 则同比提升 40% 以上。与上年相比，平均用户年龄更年轻，新增女用户占比始终保持在合理水平。团队在疫情加剧和大幅减投导致新增显著下降的情况下，维持了用户体验和平台生态的稳定。
Next, let's look at the progress we've made in terms of improving user acquisition efficiency and enhancing retention and ARPU. Firstly, on the channel front, since the beginning of the year, our team continued to improve channel efficiency by optimizing ad materials and adjusting the proportion of new users and dormant users. Therefore, although the large-scale outbreak of the pandemic in December led to a larger than expected decline in user base, the key user acquisition indicators such as unit acquisition cost, retention, and new user ARPU have all improved to varying degrees compared with the previous year. The average unit acquisition cost for fiscal year 2022 was down nearly 20% year-on-year, and especially in Q4, user acquisition cost was down 50% from the year-ago period, and new user ARPU increased by more than 40%. Compared with the previous year, the average user age tended to be younger, and the proportion of new female users remained at a satisfactory level. Our team maintained the stability of the user experience and of the platform ecosystem despite the deteriorating pandemic situation and the decline in new users resulting from the channel investment reduction.
在通过新的产品体验提升客单价方面，我们明确了2个重要方向。一是用户产品探索滑动匹配之外的有效社交体验。二是付费产品提供会员之外的增值服务，提升单用户营收。2022年，我们对聊天室产品做出了多项优化，令该产品在提升女性及不露脸用户的留存及使用时长方面都起到了非常积极的作用。同时，聊天室作为以虚拟礼物为基础的消费场景，未来也将会是一个有效释放细分层级消费能力的商业产品。
In terms of improving ARPU through new product experiences, we have clarified 2 important directions. First, for user products, we need to explore effective social experiences beyond the swipe and match features. Second, for commercial products, we need to introduce non-membership VAS paying models to improve per user revenue. During the year of 2022, we made a few important optimizations to the chat room experience, which have played a positive role in improving retention and the time spent of female users, and of those who are reluctant to show their real photos. At the same time, as a consumer experience based on virtual gifting, chat room can also effectively unleash the spending potential of different cohorts of users when it comes to monetization.
2022年，团队在探索非会员 VAS 的同时，在会员订阅的产品方向上持续深挖。下半年在 SVIP 的基础上推出了高端的黑金会员，上线后很快受到高消费群体的推崇，对推动 ARPU 增长起到了积极作用。
In 2022, in addition to exploring non-membership VAS features, our team also continued to dig deeper in the direction of membership subscriptions. In the second half of the year, we launched a high-end Black Gold membership service on top of the SVIP. This was immediately well received by high-spending cohort, making a positive impact on ARPU expansion.
接下来聊下创新业务，以追求收入和利润为目标的 VAS 和游戏 Apps。财务数据合并在陌陌业务线下。4季度，独立新 Apps 共计营收 2.29 亿人民币，同比翻倍，环比增长 13%。2022年，创新业务总营收 7.91 亿人民币，同比增长近 150%。收入快速增长的同时，这几款产品年内相继实现盈利，全年整体为集团层面贡献利润。我们预计这3款独立 App 今年将为集团持续贡献可观的增长以及利润。
Next, I'll review the progress we made with our new endeavors. For the new standalone apps, financials of the profit-oriented VAS and gaming apps are consolidated under Momo's P&L in our segment reporting. In the fourth quarter, revenue from the standalone apps totaled 229 million RMB, doubled from the year-ago period and up 13% sequentially. For fiscal 2022, total revenue of our new endeavors was 791 million RMB, up nearly 150% year-over-year. All standalone social apps have started to contribute to the group's profits this year while delivering rapid top-line growth. We expect the 3 standalone apps to continuously contribute meaningful revenue and profit to the group.
除了以盈利为目的的产品外，2022年我们首次在非 ROI 导向的产品方面取得了突破。年初，我们抓住了代际更替的机遇，推出了首个面向00后的大 DAU 产品贴贴，用户规模很快就达到了非常可观的体量，验证了团队在社交领域发现新市场、把握新机遇的优势。未来我们会加快对新产品探索的步伐，不断试错， 为不同年龄、不同需求的用户带来更好的社交产品。
In addition to profit-oriented products, we made breakthroughs in non-ROI-oriented products for the first time in 2022. At the beginning of the year, we took the opportunity of the generational transition to launch the first large DAU product targeting Gen Z and Gen Alpha users, and the user base quickly reached to a considerable level. This confirms our team's competitive advantage in discovering new markets and seizing new opportunities in the social space. Going forward, we will accelerate the pace of new products exploration based on trial and error, and strive to provide better social products for users of different ages and with different needs.
以上是业务回顾，接下来很快介绍下我们2023年的战略目标。我还是分陌陌主 App、探探和新业务三部分来讲。首先是陌陌，对于陌陌主站成熟产品，我们的要求是稳规模、降成本，保证现金流业务持续稳定产出。实现这个目标的两个关键因素在于：一，持续优化产品运营，拓展新的营收玩法；第二是提高资金及人员的使用效率。探探今年的战略目标是实现盈亏平衡，跑通适合亚洲市场约会文化的产品和商业模式，在商业正循环的基础上追求可持续增长。实现这一目标需要渠道和产品的共同努力。关于新产品，我们的计划是持续丰富产品矩阵，拓宽陌陌探探之外的业务边界，打造长期的增长引擎。其中 ROI 向独立 Apps 的目标是持续扩大利润规模，为集团贡献增量流水和利润。除此之外，我们也将继续探索大 DAU 的产品机会，开辟新的增长路径。
This concludes our business updates. Now, I will briefly go through our strategic priorities for 2023. Firstly, for the mature Momo app, our goal is to keep the users and revenue scale stable and continue to optimize on cost structure and maintain the productivity of the cash cow business. To achieve this goal, we will continue to optimize product operation and introduce new monetization features, as well as improve cash utilization and personnel efficiency. Secondly, for Tantan, our goal is to achieve break-even for the year and pursue sustainable growth on the back of a positive business cycle. To achieve this, we will work on both channel and product fronts, so we can build product and monetization models that are suitable for the Asian dating culture. And thirdly, with respect to new products, we will enrich our product portfolio, push the boundaries beyond Momo and Tantan, and develop long-term growth engine. Specifically, our plan for ROI-oriented standalone apps is to continue to scale up profit and to contribute more incremental revenue and profit to the group top line and bottom line. In addition, we'll further explore opportunities for large DAU products to open up a new growth path.
最后向大家宣布，董事会已经批准了每股 ADS 0.72美元的特别现金派息方案，现金派息总额约 1.37 亿美元，相当于2022年调整后归母净利润的 50%。 熟悉我们的投资人都知道，这是我们连续第5年与股东分享经营成果。无论是推动业务增长、甄选投资机会，还是对分红和回购的考虑，我们在资本安排方面的基本原则是为股东创造长期价值。在此谢谢各位对我们的信任。下面我把话筒交给 Cassie， 请她为大家介绍一下财务情况。
Lastly, I would like to conclude by announcing that our board has declared a special cash dividend in the amount of $0.72 per ADS, which will amount to a total cash payment of approximately $137 million, or 50% of the adjusted net income attributable to Hello Group Inc. in 2022. Investors who have been following us long enough will know that this is the 5th consecutive year that we have shared the fruit of our work with our shareholders. Whatever decision we make in terms of driving organic growth, business growth, identifying decent investment opportunities, or paying back shareholders with dividends or in the form of equity buyback, the fundamental principle of our capital allocation strategy is to create long-term value for our shareholders. I would like to thank you all for your faith in us. Now, let me pass the call over to Cassie for financial review. Cassie, please.
Thanks, Tang Zong and Ashley. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our conference call today. Now let me briefly take you through the financial review. Today, total revenue for the fourth quarter 2022 was 3.21 billion RMB, down 13% year-on-year and less than 1% quarter-on-quarter. Non-GAAP net income attributable to the company was 487.9 million RMB. Excluding the impact of accrued income tax expenses on the undistributed earnings, which were not on a comparable basis for the two periods, non-GAAP net income in the fourth quarter of 2022 was up 8% from the year-ago period, despite the top-line decrease as a result of our cost control efforts. Looking into the key revenue line items for the quarter. Firstly, on live broadcasting. Total revenue from live broadcasting business for the fourth quarter of 2022 was 1.72 billion RMB, down 20% year-on-year, but up 4% quarter-over-quarter. Momo app live broadcasting revenue totaled 1.56 billion RMB for the quarter, down 20% year-on-year, but up 3% quarter-over-quarter. The year-over-year decrease was due to the pressure caused by the COVID and regulatory factors. The sequential growth was mainly attributable to the incremental revenue generated by the year-end competition event. Tantan's live broadcasting revenue amounted to 162.9 million RMB, down 19% from Q4 last year, but up 17% from the previous quarter. The year-over-year decrease was mainly due to the negative impact of the pandemic and reduced channel investment, resulting in a significant decrease in the paying user count. The sequential increase was driven by ARPU growth, thanks to our product and operational efforts. Revenue from value-added service for the fourth quarter of 2022 was 1.45 billion RMB, down 2% from Q4 last year and 6% sequentially. Revenue from value-added service on an ex-Tantan basis reached 1.27 billion RMB in the fourth quarter of 2022, a 2% increase year-on-year, but down 5% sequentially. The year-over-year growth was driven by incremental revenue contributed by the standalone new applications. The sequential decrease was due to pressure on Momo app LBS-related features caused by the deteriorating COVID situation in China in Q4 22. Tantan's value-added service revenue amounted to renminbi 183.8 million, down 22% from Q4 last year and 9% from the previous quarter. The decrease was due to the pressure on Tantan's MAUs and paying conversion caused by the COVID-related factors, as well as the reduction on marketing spend. Non-GAAP cost of revenue for the fourth quarter of 2022 was 1.91 billion RMB, compared to 2.19 billion for the same period last year. Non-GAAP gross margin for the quarter was 40.4%, same as the year-ago period and down 1.3% from last quarter, mainly due to the incremental expense in connection with the year-end competition event for live streaming. Non-GAAP R&D expenses for the fourth quarter was 250.5 million RMB, compared to 279.7 million RMB for the same period last year, or a 10% decrease YOY. The decrease was due to continuous optimization in personnel costs since the beginning of the year. Non-GAAP R&D expenses as a percentage of revenue remained stable at 8% from the year-ago period. We ended the quarter with 1,705 total employees, of which 459 are from Tantan, compared to 2,051 total employees, of which 552 from Tantan a year ago. The R&D personnel as a percentage of total employees for the group was 63%, compared with 62% Q4 last year. Non-GAAP sales and marketing expenses for the fourth quarter was 398.6 million RMB, or 12% of total revenue, compared to 648.6 million RMB, or 18% of total revenue for the same period last year. The significant year-over-year decrease, both in terms of absolute RMB amount and as a percentage of revenue, was primarily attributable to Tantan's shift in marketing strategy to cut spending on low-efficiency approaches in order to take care of ROI, and to a lesser degree, reduction of Momo's marketing spend amid a pandemic outbreak. Non-GAAP G&A expenses was 84.9 million RMB for the fourth quarter 2022, compared to 89.4 million RMB for the same period last year, representing 3% and 2% of total revenue respectively. Now briefly on other operating income/loss item. Other operating loss for the quarter was 65.2 million RMB, compared to an income of 38.6 million RMB for the same period last year. In Q4 2022, we accrued 92.9 million RMB of potential loss related to a Momo user's alleged illegal activity and embezzlement of funds, which was recharged and consumed on Momo platform. There is no suspected or alleged wrongdoing on the part of the group. The 92.9 million RMB involved in the case is recorded as restricted cash on our balance sheet. Until the ruling of the court is announced, we won't know for sure whether the fund will be ultimately released or instead drawn from our account to compensate the plaintiffs in the case. However, for conservative purpose, we've decided to take the item into our P&L as an operating loss in Q4 2022. Other operating loss caused by the accrued amount was partially offset by a couple of income items. Non-GAAP operating income was 499.2 million RMB, a decrease of 2% from Q4 2021 and 18% from the previous quarter. Non-GAAP operating margin for the quarter was 16%, up 2 percentage points from the same period last year, but down 3 percentage points from the previous quarter. Non-GAAP OPEX as a percentage of total revenue was 23%, a decrease from 28% for Q4 2021 and 24% from last quarter. Non-GAAP operating expenses on a year-over-year basis decreased 28%. The decrease in both absolute RMB amount and as a percentage of revenue for OPEX was mainly due to the reduction in sales and marketing expenses and to a lesser degree, optimization in personnel costs. Non-GAAP operating expenses decreased 4% sequentially. This is attributable to the decrease in marketing expenses, which offset the increase in seasonal expenses such as year-end bonus. Now briefly on income tax expenses. Total income tax expenses was 110.3 million RMB for the quarter, with an effective tax rate of 19%. In Q4, the company accrued withholding tax income of 39.7 million RMB, which is 10% of undistributed profit generated by our WOFE. Without a withholding tax, our estimated non-GAAP effective tax rate was around 12% in the fourth quarter. Now turning to balance sheet and cash flow items. As of December 31st, 2022, Hello Group's cash equivalents, short-term deposits, long-term deposits, short-term investments, and restricted cash totaled 13.4 billion RMB compared to 15.71 billion RMB as of December 31st, 2021. The decrease was due to a number of cash flow items, including our cash dividend payments, repurchase of the company's convertible notes, repurchase of the company's equity under the ongoing buyback program, and payment to Chinese tax authorities to repatriate cash from our WOFE in China to our offshore entity. Net cash provided by operating activities in the fourth quarter 2022 was 539 million RMB compared to RMB 666 million in the fourth quarter of 2021. Lastly, on business outlook, we estimated our first quarter revenue to come in the range from 2.65 billion RMB to 2.75 billion RMB, representing a decrease of 15.8% to 12.6% year-on-year, or a decrease of 17.5% to 14.4% quarter-over-quarter. For Q1 2023, on a sequential basis, we expect the total revenue from both Momo and Tantan to decline mid-teens due to the infection surge after reopen, coupled with the Chinese New Year negative seasonality. Please please be mindful that this forecast represents the company's current and preliminary view on the market and operating conditions, which are subject to changes. That concluded our prepared portion of today's discussion. With that, let me turn the call back to Ashley to start Q&A. Ashley, please.
Thanks. Just a quick reminder before we take the questions. Please ask your questions in Chinese and followed by English translation by yourself. Operator, we're ready for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. If you wish to ask a question, please press star then 1 on your telephone and wait for your name to be announced. If you wish to cancel your request, please press star then 2. If you're on a speakerphone, please pick up the handset to ask your question. Our first question today comes from Leo Chang with Deutsche Bank. Please go ahead.
谢谢管理层接受我的提问。我的问题是关于陌陌的App。随着线下活动恢复常态化以后，想请问一下管理层对于近期陌陌 App 用户及收入的恢复情况是怎么样的？然后想请问一下管理层关于2023年陌陌 App 的收入预期。Thank you management for taking my question. My question is regarding to the Momo app. As the offline activities resume normalization, can management share the latest user and revenue recovery trend of the Momo app? Additionally, what is the target of Momo's revenue in 2023? 谢谢。
我在刚才的发言有提过12月初疫情政策放开后，用户规模短时间内是受到了非常大的冲击，导致4季度的 MAU 环比呢是大幅的下跌。那么1月初呢，以北方地区为主的部分城市感染达峰后，当地用户规模随着疫情的缓解开始逐步恢复，但恢复趋势1月中呢又被这个春节返乡的传统淡季打断。春节低点过后，2月初 DAU 开始快速的反弹，然后增速呢明显高于1月初的程度，也好于我们之前的预期。目前用户规模已经恢复到了去年的暑假末的这个水平。那么在这个运营策略方面呢，那么陌陌的主站会以生态和产品为主，在活动和赛事的方面会持续的采取保守的策略，重点会放在保证利润而不是冲收入。那么具体的预期呢 Katie 可以讲一下。
Let me translate first. So as I mentioned earlier, the reopening in early December severely affected our user base in a short period of time, resulting in a sharp sequential decline in MAUs in Q4. In early January, after the infection rate reached its peak in many regions, mainly in northern part of China, local users started to gradually come back as the pandemic subsided. However, the recovery trend was interrupted by the traditional low seasonality of Chinese New Year, when people started to return to their hometowns in mid-January to get ready for the holiday celebration. But DAU rebounded rapidly in early February after the Chinese New Year 12, and the growth rate was actually significantly higher than that in early January, and it was also better than our previous expectations. And currently, Momo user base has rebounded to the same level as the end of summer holiday last year. In terms of operation strategy, Momo app will remain focused on the ecosystem and product experience. We will continue to take a conservative approach in terms of event operation and competition arrangements. That means we will prioritize stabilizing profit over driving non-profitable revenue growth. And I'll leave it to Cassie for financial details.
Sure. Let me briefly share what we can say at this point about that good old question. For Q1, as you can see from our guidance, Momo's live streaming is going to see mid to high teens decrease from last year. The biggest reason here is that last Q1 was relatively a high base, because if you remember correctly, it was before the regulatory changes in May, regulatory changes that happened in May 2022. That sort of made the prior Q1 sort of a tough con for us. On top of that, I suspect that not having full visibility into the macro conditions for the rest of the year is still weighing on the mind of some of our high-paying users. At least that's the general sentiment that we are getting from talking to a portion of our top spenders. We'll see if the sentiment gets better over time as the year progresses and more stimulating policies get released. So that's Q1. Looking out to Q2 onwards, we are definitely going to see quarter-over-quarter increase as both traffic and the whole economy continues to recover from the past 3 years of COVID restrictions. Plus, it looks like that the fluid regulatory situation that had been hanging over the sector over the past 2 to 3 years is also going to see some stabilization for the coming few quarters. The only uncertainty is, I would say, is how strong the macro gets as we move deeper into the year, because that's really going to determine the spending sentiment of the top of the pyramid users for live streaming. For value-added service, Q1 this year is also a bit tough due to the January trough related to China's reopen infection surge. Another factor here was related to Sochil, which was heavily impacted in Q1 due to the Turkey earthquake, as well as the heavy depreciation of the Egyptian pound against US dollar. Some of our payment channels in Egypt was actually suspended by local authorities due to that reason. We are currently shifting both the marketing dollars as well as some of the other resources to other Gulf countries where the growth momentum remains quite strong. Overall, we expect value-added service to continue to grow this year, with second half being substantially stronger than first half due to the aforementioned several factors. So if you put all these different pieces together, I guess for the X1010 part, we're going to probably see continuous quarter-over-quarter improvement throughout this year, driven by the gradual recovery as well as the strong momentum that's coming from the smaller new apps. How fast the top line may ramp up throughout the year is really going to, as I said, heavily depend on the macro conditions. So I hope that sort of answers your question. Maybe back to Ashley to take the next question.
Operator, let's take the second question, please.
The next question comes from Thomas Chong with Jefferies. Please go ahead.
晚上好，谢谢管理层接受我的提问。我的问题是关于探探的，管理层可以分享一下最近用户的情况，还有就是2023年收入跟利润的一个预期。另外呢，再想问一下，从这个聊天室今年的收入可以做到多大的体量？谢谢。Thanks management for taking my question. My question is about Tantan. Can management share about the latest user trend as well as the outlook for 2023 revenue and profitability? On the other hand, in terms of the revenue scale, can management share about the chat room in 2023? Thank you.
探探的用户这个经历了跟陌陌比较类似的一个走势。疫情爆发期间呢，出现了快速的下跌，并于春节后呢触底反弹。目前这个 DAU 已经恢复到11月的水平。在此基础上，是否能够持续的增长以及增长的速度，取决于我们是否能够看到产品体验的持续改善和留存的提升，以及能不能有新的付费产品切实提升投放的 ROI。我觉得过去的1-2年以牺牲利润为代价追求用户增长的模式已经不 work 了。我们需要的是可以产生利润的增长。如果 ROI 有明显的提升，我们就会重新开始市场投放，用户的增速就会提升。那么这方面呢，投资人是需要给我们一些时间的。
Tantan user base showed a similar trend to Momo, falling sharply during the surge of the infection and bottoming out after the Chinese New Year. and currently DAU has rebounded to the same level as November last year. Whether or not we can continue to grow from that and at what pace, and it depends on if we can see continuous improvement in product experience and user retention, as well as our ability to introduce new paying features that can effectively improve channel ROI. I don't think the pursuit of user growth at the expenses of profit, like in the past year or two, is still a viable model. So what we need is revenue growth that can generate profits. We will resume channel investment to accelerate user growth if there is a significant improvement in ROI, and investors probably need to be a bit patient with us on this front.
那么收入的增长呢，可能会比用户的增长要更早更快一些，因为现在无论是黑金会员还是聊天室都有确定的商业模式，而且对于用户体验和留存都是正向的。因此即便用户维系在目前这个规模，收入也会在一季度的基础上逐渐增长。那么具体到聊天室呢，收入的体量今年不会太大，但商业化的路径和潜力我们是非常确定的。不过今年我们还是会以打磨产品和运营为主，那么利润情况开始可以介绍一下。
So in terms of revenue growth is likely to come earlier and faster than user growth. And because both Black Gold membership and the chat room experience are actually built on well-established monetization models, and both features play a positive role in enhancing user experience and retention. So therefore, even if user scale remains at the current level, will continue to grow sequentially from Q1. And as for chat room experience, we will focus on refining its products and operations for now. And so we don't expect the chat room to bring large amount of revenue this year. But however, we have full confidence in the monetization model and revenue potential of the chat room experience. I will let Cassie talk about the bottom line.
Okay, about Tantan's bottom line. Well, if you look at the trajectory of the non-GAAP operating loss in 2022, you can see that we've been consistently narrowing down the operating loss quarter over quarter throughout the year. In Q4, non-GAAP operating loss was already at 15 million RMB kind of run rate. We expect that overall narrowing trend to continue into this year, into 2023, which means that we should be looking at a positive bottom line for Tantan toward back half of the year, if not earlier this year. The other thing worth calling out here is that as Tang Yan mentioned, as long as marketing ROI remains positive, we won't focus too much on growing the bottom line margins at this point for Tantan, because there are still a great deal of growth opportunities for dating products in the China market. Instead, we could let part of the profit flow back into marketing to drive sustainable user growth as well as top line growth. That's what we meant by, getting into a positive cycle, which is the most important strategic priority for Tantan this year.
Right.
Last question. Okay.
So operator, next question, please.
The next question is from Luwei Zhang with CICC. Please go ahead.
关一层晚上好，我是中金的陆威，感谢接受我的提问啊。那我的问题是关于创新业务，想请关一层分享一下这部分今年的整体的规划和收入的预期，谢谢。那我自己翻译一下哈。Thanks management for taking my question. My question is about standalone new applications. Could management share more color on the strategies and revenue expectation of new apps this year? Thanks.
创新业务 ROI 导向的新产品，在2022年，我们在收入上翻了将近 1.5 倍，然后也实现了全面的盈利。2023年，我们对这些产品的要求是收入和利润都要增长。其中国内 apps 相对成熟，用户规模进入稳定阶段，我们会通过提升 RP 和利润率，推动利润规模持续增长。海外的产品呢，由于面对更加广阔的市场空间，因此我们在深耕现有市场的基础上，会持续的拓展新的营收区域。那么今年土耳其和埃及可能会受到一些影响， 但整体我们认为社交类产品在中东和北非仍然有较强的收入和利润增长机会，我们会持续往这个方向发力。
In 2022, ROI-oriented new products turned profitable, with revenues up nearly 150% from 2021. And our goal for these apps this year is to further scale up revenue and profit. For the domestic apps, which are at a more mature stage, the user base is relatively stable at the moment. So we will continue to expand profits by driving ARPU and margins. And for the overseas apps, which are facing a much broader market space, our goal is to expand new revenue markets on top of deepening the existing territory. Turkish and Egyptian markets may be affected to some extent this year, but overall, we see strong revenue and profit growth opportunities for social apps in the MENA market. We'll continue to make efforts in this direction.
那么除了这些以收入和利润为目标的 ROI 项产品 DAU 类产品我们也会持续的投入和尝试。那么除了贴贴之外，我们实际上还储备了几个大 DAU 项的产品，目前还在测试当中，等有更多的数据累积后再与大家分享。
In addition to the ROI-oriented products that focus on revenue and profits, we will continue to invest and explore opportunities in DAU-oriented products. And in fact, in addition to Tietie, we have several DAU-oriented products in the pipeline currently in beta. We will share more information with the investor community as we accumulate more data. Operator, do we have any more questions on the queue?
Yes, we have one more from Henry Sun with JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
感谢管理层接受我的提问。我这边问一个关于利润率的问题。刚刚管理层也提到了今年的业务目标是继续降本增效，可不可以请管理层分享一下今年的控费策略和整体的利润率趋势？谢谢。Thanks management for taking that question. My question is about margin. As you mentioned in the prepared remarks, optimizing costs will continue to be a key goal this year. Could management share more color on the cost control strategy and the overall margin trend this year? Thanks.
Sure. I guess that's for me. For gross profit margin, the biggest driving force here is the payout ratio. I remember someone asked that question last quarter as well. Actually, probably every quarter we'll face this good old question. My answer remains pretty consistent with what I said at that time last quarter, which is that the supply side factors are at this moment pretty stable. That means payout is going to remain largely stable as well. Of course, different business of ours, there are different margin profiles, so revenue mix is always going to be another variable in the equation you should consider when modeling out the GP margin. So that's the GP margin line. Moving down that line, last year we did a pretty good job in optimizing the key operating expenses items such as personnel expenses, marketing costs, as well as infrastructure spending. We just finished the annual budgeting cycle, and it seems that we still have some room to further improve the efficiency across all those spending areas. So investors can expect the operating expenses to further shrink down on a pretty meaningful way this year. And with top line trend improving as the year progresses, both bottom line and bottom line margins are going to improve as well. So, I'm trying to sort of put things into a nutshell. If you look at the top line and the OPEX trends that I mentioned earlier and try to think about how the overall math works this year, there are probably two key takeaways. One is that top line wise, 2023 is going to see continuous quarter-over-quarter improvement driven by the overall COVID recovery as well as the strong growth momentum coming from the smaller new applications. And the second takeaway is that we're going to continue to optimize on cost and expenses. So bottom line is going to see pretty meaningful growth on a year-over-year basis, especially in the second half of the year. So that's basically the overall financial picture that I can lay out at this point. I have visibility to lay out at this point. For other stuff, I guess we'll have to wait and see as the year progresses. I guess for the interest of time, that's going to be the last question that we take. I'll hand back to Ashley for closing remarks.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for participating in our call, and we'll see you next quarter. Have a good night and good morning. Bye.
That does conclude our conference for today. Thank you for participating. You may now disconnect.